What's up everyone, John here with WebDev for you, here to help you build awesome websites without code in Webflow. Today we're going to be building a clip path Swiper.js slider in Webflow. So I have the slider here and I'll just go through the animation, and it's just a really fun and unique slider. So this is done with clip path and animating clip path. The slider is built with Swiper.js to get a vertical slider, because right now in Webflow there's not a super easy way to get a vertical slider with delay between slides. So I used the Swiper.js script to create the vertical slider. Then we added a clip path to each slide, and then we animated the clip path using the Greensock animation script. So I'll cover all of this in today's video. The code that I will be using will be in the description area below. It is a Google Doc, and you can just copy and paste this code right into your Webflow project without having to necessarily follow through every little step that I'm doing. But I will cover everything, all the code that I added in this video tutorial. So yeah, and then, if you want to just copy and paste this code, you can do that and then customize the slides. The clonable project will also be in the description area below, so it's free. And you can just clone it into your Webflow dashboard and use this code and customize it to your liking. I will say you do need a light account plan or a site plan, a light account plan or higher in Webflow, or a site plan to use custom code, but that's just a little side note there. All right, so yeah, this is what we will be building today. I did create a small presentation just to keep us on track. So hopefully this video doesn't get too long, but I do want to cover every little detail of this slider. So this is the clip path Swiper.js slider in Webflow. Using the Swiper.js script along with the Greensock animation script, we can animate a clip path on slide change within Webflow. So here are the table of contents of what we will be covering in today's video. So number one, we're going to add the Swiper.js vertical slider. So we're going to add a vertical slider to Webflow. Then we're going to add a clip path to each slide. Then we're going to animate the clip path on each slide using the Greensock animation script. And then we're going to add a click delay on each slide transition using a piece of custom code. And then we're going to add the slide text interaction. So here, when we click to the next slide, we can see the text moves up. And that's just an interaction in Webflow. There's no script with that. It's very straightforward. Yeah, so that's what we will be building today. So let's get started. So the first is adding the Swiper.js vertical slider. So you can just do a quick Google search for Swiper.js. I'll leave the link to this in the description area below as well. So all the links I'll be using today will be in the description area below. So Swiper.js, the most modern mobile touch slider. Very cool. So we go down and we'll click on Get Started. And here it provides all the information we need to use the Swiper.js. So we're going to be grabbing the links from the CDN because Webflow only allows a character limit of 10,000 characters. So we do want to use scripts from a CDN because all we have to do is add like one line of code or reference the script from the CDN, and then we can use it in Webflow rather than adding the entire script in the custom code sections of Webflow. So first we want to add this style sheet. So we add this link reference code. So I'll hit Command C to copy. Then I'll go into my blank Webflow project, go into the page settings, and I'll paste this code here. So I'll just paste it, and I'll remove the extra breaks in there because we don't need those. And bam. So just like that, we have the style sheet in Webflow. Or the Swiper.js style sheet there. And then we want to copy and paste the script here. So the script will go in the before the body tag. So the style sheet goes in the head section and the script goes in the before the body tag section. So I'll go back into Webflow and I'll paste that script in there, and boom. So now we have access to the Swiper.js style sheet and the script so that we can use it in Webflow. All I have to do is click save and done. After we build out the structure of the slider, we'll initiate it using some code, some Swiper.js code. So if we scroll down, here it says add the Swiper HTML layout. So this is in code, but we know in Webflow we can do that via the navigator. So we just have to recreate the structure in Webflow. So first we'll create a div called Swiper, then we'll add a Swiper wrapper in the Swiper, and then within the Swiper wrapper, we'll add the Swiper slide, and then we'll customize the Swiper slide with different content inside of it. Yeah, and then we'll set a height to the Swiper element, and here we'll initialize the Swiper. So let's go ahead and create the structure in Webflow. This is probably the most time-consuming part of this, but the most important if we want to have a functional vertical slider in Webflow. So let's see, let me go back to my slides, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, so we're still on adding a Swiper.js. And yeah, here's my blank project. And let's go ahead and add that structure. So I'll be referencing this. Let me put this here. So let's reference this HTML layout. So let's add a div called Swiper. So within the body, I like to start all of my builds with a section. So I'm using Command K to add elements into Webflow. You can use the elements panel as well, but I'm using Command K just as a shortcut. And it brings up the quick find where I can add different elements. So I'll add a section, excuse me, and I'll call this Swiper section. I'll give it we'll say a min height of 100 VH. I'm actually going to give an explicit height to this Swiper slider, but this is just something like a best practice for me when I'm working with sections. So within the Swiper section, now we'll get into the layout that it mentions here. So here I'll add a div block. So select Swiper section, hold Command K to bring up quick find. I'll add a div block, and I'll call this div block Swiper. So we want to use the same, and actually let me, I actually had a build before. So yeah, so that's fine there. And yeah, okay, so we have the Swiper section. In the Swiper section, I was kind of worried about that because I was practicing the build before this, so I forgot to clear out my classes, but never mind that. Let's just start from the beginning. So so to this div block, we want to add the class name Swiper. Perfect. And that's the class name right here. And we'll give it an explicit height of 100 VH. So this is important because the elements that we're going to put in the slider will not have a height because we're going to set it to position absolute. So we want to set not a min height, but an explicit height to the Swiper. Okay. And then we want to add a Swiper wrapper. So in here, we're going to say, we're going to click the Swiper, add a div block, and I'll call this Swiper-wrapper. And I'll set this to a position of absolute and full. So it covers the entire parent element, which is the Swiper, and it has a height, I think I might have said width before, but it has a height of 100 VH, so it fills the entire viewport. So we have the Swiper wrapper, and next we want to add the Swiper slide. So in here, I'll hit Command K, add a div block, and I'll call this Swiper slide. All right, so we have the slide, and for this, I'll set it to a position of absolute and full, so it fills the entire viewport. And that's it. So there's the structure. Now we want to build out each slide. So within each slide, and this is just like how I built it. So in the slide, you can add anything you want. But the way I built it is I added an image, and then I added the text. So first in the slide, we're going to add a div block, and I'm going to call this Swiper image. And again, I'm going to set the Swiper image to a position of absolute and full. And then this is where I'll add my background images. So now I can go ahead into backgrounds, and I can click the plus, and I can say choose image. And I added these images already. So I just grabbed them from my assets panel. I had some images, and I just dragged and dropped into Webflow, into the asset manager. So yeah, I've already added the images. I added the arrows that I'll be using. So now I'm just going to select the image. So I'll select this one. I'll set it to cover, and I don't need it to be fixed, and I'll set it to center. So center and not fixed and cover. All right, so there's the image, and then within each image or within each slide, we have the text, right? So if we go to this example, we have this text here, and that looks good. So let's just add a div block. So I've called that, so let me add a div block in the Swiper slide, and I've called this heading wrapper, and let's see, I've set it to a position of relative, and from the left I said 10%, or actually I know what I did here. Let me remove that. I set the swiper slide, I set the display setting to flex and center, align center, and justify left. Okay, so that heading wrapper is over here to the left, and then I can just give it some positioning like 10% from the left here, and maybe 25% from the bottom, or maybe 10% from the bottom, something like that. So we're positioning it like somewhere in the top left, and we can adjust this after we're done working with it. So within the heading wrapper, I have two pieces of text. I have this larger text and I have the smaller text. So this is the quote and this is the author name. So in Webflow, I'm going to place the text in a wrapper and then set it to overflow hidden, so we can move the text in and out of a div block without it being visible. All right, so in the heading wrapper, let's add a div block, and I'm going to call this top text wrapper. And I'm going to add a text block, and I'm going to call this top heading. Yeah, top heading. And we'll set the text. So for this text, I'm using Cormorant. It's a Google font. It's a serif, which I really like. So we're going to go to Cormorant, which is right, where is it? Cormorant. Here we go, CO, and it is, here we go, Cormorant. There we go. And I'm going to add all variations because we do have some italic text that we're going to use. Click add font. I'll go back into the designer and we'll just style this text. So for this top heading, I'm going to make the text white, set it to Cormorant, and make it really large, something like 60. And we'll make the line height unitless, and I'll make the line height like 1.4 or 1.5. Let's do 1.5. All right. So now I'm just going to copy this top text wrapper and paste. And for this text in here, I'm going to duplicate it and call this second top heading. Or I'll just call this author text. How's that? Author text, and I'll make this a bit smaller, maybe 24. And that's it. And then for this top heading, I'm also going to make it italic. All right, and I'm going to add some margin to the bottom of the top heading, maybe like 20, so this text is separated. All right, and then what I did for the quotes, I just looked up some quotes online. So I typed in inspiration short, accidentally saved the document here, but I typed in short inspirational quotes, and it was like the first one, 170 short inspirational quotes. And I just grabbed some quotes here. So here, this first one, make each day your masterpiece. So grab that, paste it into there, and then the author, put a dash, and it's John Wooden. All right, so boom, perfect. And the next thing I'll do is just copy and paste each slide. So I'll be changing the text for each slide, but for now, I'm just going to copy the swiper slide 3 more times. So we have 4 slides. You can copy and paste as many times as you'd like to have as many slides as you'd like, but I just want 4 for this one. So I'm going to hit Command C to copy, and in the swiper wrapper, just paste. So hit Command C and paste 4 times. So now I have 4 slides. So for each slide, I'm going to change out the image, and then we'll change out the text in a second. So I'll go to the second image, I'll give it a combo class of 2, and I'll assign a different image to this slide. So I'll choose image, and I'll select, let's do this one here. Then I'll go to the next swiper slide, select swiper image, and set it the combo class to 3. Go to the background image, choose image. I'll set it to this one. And then we have swiper, what was that? Let's see, swiper image 3. Yeah, then we have the 4th image, and I'll say 4 for the combo class. So adding a combo class allows us to give unique properties to the specific div block. For this one, I will add this image here. All right, so yeah, so we built out the slider, the structure we have. I'll just recap. So taking from this structure here, and also we don't need the pagination and the previous and next buttons at the moment, so we'll worry about that later. or actually we won't be adding that, so we can just skip that. But we added the swiper wrapper, and the swiper slides within the swiper wrapper. So here in the navigator, swiper, inside the swiper we have the swiper wrapper, and inside the swiper wrapper we have the 4 different swiper slides. And then in each slide we have the image, and we have the heading wrapper with the text inside of it. And for the top text wrapper, we want to set the overflow to hidden. And this will allow us, if I select the text inside of it, this will allow us to move the text. If I say here in 2D transforms, I can move the text in and out of the wrapper. So one thing I'm noticing now that I did, which I don't really want, is I applied the margin bottom to the top heading. So I'm going to hold down Option and click to remove that, or Alt click to remove that. I want to apply that margin to the top text wrapper. There we go. And that way the movement of the text in and out of the top text wrapper is doesn't have any extra spacing to the bottom and the top of it. All right. Cool. So that's just a little technique. I do cover this in a few other of my interaction videos where you can set the overflow hidden to the parent wrapper and then move the children elements in and out of that parent to create kind of a mask around the text. All right. So yeah, we built out the structure. The next thing we need to do is initiate the Swiper.js slider. So let's go back into Swiper.js, and this is the code we need to initiate it. So I'm just gonna copy this code. And again, this code is also in here in the Google Doc that I'll be leaving in the description area below. All right, so let's go into the custom code section, and I'll go into the before the body tag, not the head tag. We want to add scripts in the before the body tag. I'll open up a script tag, and I'll paste that code in there, and then I'll close the script tag. All right, so for this code, I don't need the scroll bar, so I'm just going to delete that. I don't need the navigation either. We're going to work on the navigation in a second. And I don't need the pagination. So all I need is to initiate the swiper. So we created a constant called swiper, which equals the new swiper, and we targeted the swiper class we created in Webflow. The direction, I want it to be vertical. The loop, I do want it to loop. The duration, I believe it's called duration. Let me just find it here. Hopefully I still have it opened, and I don't have it opened here. So I think it's duration. Let me double check. I'll just inspect this code really quick. Let's see, the script is right here. Yeah, duration, speed, it's called speed. So if we want to set the speed for the slider, and this is very important, we want to set the speed to 700 milliseconds. So the theme for the slider will be 700 milliseconds, and we're going to use that in various aspects of the build. So just keep that in mind. It's 700 milliseconds. And for now, because we don't have previous and next buttons, I'm going to set autoplay to true. It's just a parameter that you can set in Swiper so that the slides automatically play. All right, so we have loop true, autoplay true, and the speed at 700 milliseconds. And that's it. So we have a functioning slider. Let's just double check. So I'll save. So we added the style sheet, the script tag, and we initiated Swiper.js with the structure that Swiper gave us in the documentation. So I'll go ahead and publish, and we should have a functioning slider. So I'll preview, and let's see if it autoplays, and perfect. So we have an auto-playing slider, looks really good. And the next step is going to be adding the clip path. And we're going to control the slider with previous and next buttons, but for now we just want to make sure it's working by using the autoplay option. All right, looks good. So we finished adding the Swiper.js vertical slider. Let's move on to adding a clip path to each slide. So next we will add the clip path to each slide using a clip path website and custom code in Webflow. So this part's really fun. So there's a website called bennettfeely.com/clippy, and I'll leave a link in the description area below. But basically, you can create clip paths like this. And most browsers do support clip path. I would just go to caniuse.com to see what browsers don't support clip path. A lot of browsers don't support like clip path and SVGs, but if you're just using clip path and CSS, most browsers do support it, with the exception of IE, because IE is a bit ancient, and I think Edge does support it. So definitely just do some research and kind of test too as well, but I do feel like clip path is mostly supported. But basically a clip path allows us to clip an image with a shape. So you can use any shapes here, and we can see the code that it outputs down here. So what I did for this animation, I started with a circle, and I just changed the radius. So you can change the radius by grabbing, let me try that again. You can change the radius by grabbing this red dot and changing it like this. And notice that when I change the radius, the code changes here, the percentage, just like that. And if I grab the green dot and move it, the position of the circle moves. So what I did with this is I gave it a position of 80, 50, and then I moved the radius. I moved it out and in. So initially the radius starts at 70%. I started it at 70%, and then I animated it back to, I want to say 15%. I have to look at the numbers, but basically it goes from 70, the radius 70 to 15, right? And that's how we get the animation of the clip path showing the image and then, going into a circle. So if I go in here and I preview it, we can see the circle expands and contracts. All right. So, and we're animating it with Greensock. So that's one really cool thing about Greensock. It allows us to animate clip paths. All right. So I grabbed the code from here, and essentially I'm just going to reference the code here in this document. So yeah, we started at 70%. So so I'll go back into the website, and let's go into the head section, and I'm going to open a style tag, and I'm just going to copy this code here. So we're targeting the Swiper image. So I'm going to copy this code and I'll paste it. So we're saying we're targeting each Swiper image, and we have this clip path circle that starts at 70%. So again, here in the Bennett Feely site, just look down here, it's at 70%. So it's expanded, and we positioned it at 80% and 50. So here it looks a bit different because the canvas is a square, but when you're working with a kind of a wider width viewport, it looks much better, right? Like the circle there's more space on the left when it's not just a perfect square. It's like maybe a 16:9 aspect ratio, and there's just more space on the left side. All right, so yeah, we have the Swiper image, and then I also added a piece of code to the Swiper wrapper to add some easing to the transition of the slides. So just paste that code in there. So this is just a piece of code that I found online. I just Googled like how do you add easing to the Swiper.js slider. And basically you have to target the Swiper wrapper and add a transition timing function. And then I said ease in, out. And then I'll close the style tag, and that's it. So we added the clip path to the circle, or to the Swiper image, and the Swiper image is right here. And the last thing we need to do, so I'm going to go ahead and publish just to showcase what it currently looks like. I think it might be white, the clip path. Yeah, so the clip path will be white. And the way we change that is by adding a background color to the Swiper element, to the parent element. So I'm going to add a background color of 1818. You can add any color depending on what you want that left section to be, but we just selected Swiper and added a background color of close to black, not exactly black, but 181818 is kind of close to black color. So we have it there, we have the text, and perfect. And it's still set to autoplay. So yeah, that is the clip path. And again, you can add any shape you want for the clip path. You just have to be aware of how you animate it using Greensock, and that's the next step we're going to go into. So I'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. So animating the clip path. So next we will animate the clip path on each slide as it transitions using the Greensock animation script. So I'll go to Greensock. So it's greensock.com. I'll leave a link in the description area below. And basically it's the standard for modern web animation. So it's a really fluid and dope, I'm going to call it dope, animation script that allows you to do amazing things on the web. Like, look at this staggering and all this amazing stuff you can do. All right, so luckily they already have the CDN right here. So sometimes I go to jsdeliver.com to get CDN scripts. That way I don't have to add the full script in Webflow because it only allows for 10,000 characters in the custom code sections. But using the CDN script makes it much easier to reference scripts. And luckily GSAP has it right here on their homepage. It's referencing the CDN.js, which I believe is powered by Amazon. I believe. So yeah, we'll just copy that CDN and the CDN script and go back into the custom code. I'll put this below the Swiper.js script. So I'll say script source equals open quotes, paste that GSAP CDN script, close quotes, close bracket, and then I'll close the script with a backslash before the close tag there in the script. All right, so yeah, now we have access to the GSAP script, and we can add GSAP code to the site. So I'm going to go ahead again and reference the code I have here, and I'll reference the GSAP clip path animation. So I'm just going to copy this code all the way to here, hit Command C to copy, and then I'll explain what the code does. So this is the GSAP clip path animation. So using the GSAP code, if you want to learn more about GSAP and how to reference and use the GSAP code, I just recommend reading through their documentation and their products. And they have great documentation that goes over everything. But basically, I'm just using a timeline, and I'm creating an animation with the timeline. So I created a constant called T1, and this is the timeline, and I have it initially set to paused because I don't want it to animate right away. And then I have another constant called slide1. It could actually just be called slide, and I'm targeting every swiper image. So the image is what has the clip path, so I want to target the swiper image. And then we have a left arrow, which I target with the class left arrow, and we'll be creating previous and next buttons, and we'll assign the class left arrow and right arrow to it. And then we have right arrow right here, which is targeting the right arrow class. And we'll get more into that in a second when we create the arrows. All right, and then here we have the animation. So T1, so the timeline goes to the clip path. We have the clip path animation. So initially the clip path starts at 70%, the radius, and then it goes to 15%. So here we're animating to 15%, and the position stays the same, which is 80% and 50%. The duration is 0.7 milliseconds, or 0.7 seconds. The easing is power 1 ease and out. So Greensock has their own easing, which is super cool. I really like their easings. And it's power 1 ease and out. All right, and you can look at their easings. Let's see here if I can find it. I'll just type in easing. And Greensock easing. And you can kind of see they have a visualizer. Yeah, here it is. So you can see like what the easing looks like and how it feels. So this one I'm running power 1 and ease and out. Okay, so yeah, that's a cool little visualizer they have there. All right, so it initially animates the circle, so it goes from expanded to contracted because we changed the radius to 15% on the clip path. And then after that, we're gonna wait 0.7 seconds, and we're gonna expand the circle back to 70%. So here T1, 2, we're referencing this constant. It's gonna go to 2. Yeah, the next step is gonna be circle expands to 70% radius with a duration of 0.7 seconds. So again, there's that 700 milliseconds or 0.7 second that I was referencing. So that's the theme of this animation. You can change the duration to anything you want, but for this one I'm using 700 milliseconds or 0.7 seconds. And the easing is the same, power ease and out, and we have a delay of 0.7 seconds. So if we look at the animation, it starts expanded, the circle is expanded, then we click, it contracts, then it waits 0.7 seconds, and then it expands again. And that's why we added a speed of 700 milliseconds to the slide, and we're also going to add a click delay of 700 milliseconds to the previous and next buttons. All right, so yeah, that's the animation. It goes from expanded to contracted and back to expanded. So initially, yeah, we started expanded, then this first line contracts it, and the second expands it again. All right, and that's the code there. And then with the left and right arrow, we added event listeners so that on click, it restarts the entire interaction, or the entire animation. So when we click, it'll contract the circle and expand it, and also we're going to create arrows so that it targets the Swiper.js slider. So it'll move the slide as well as trigger the animation at the same time, giving us the desired effect. All right, so hopefully it's all been clear. Feel free to ask any questions in the comment section below. But yeah, this code will be available in the description area below, along with a few other links. All right, so that is the clip path. We animated it using this code. Again, it's in the Google Doc. You can just copy and paste. And yeah, there's also going to be a clonable project for free that you can just clone into your dashboard and use. A little caveat, you do need a Webflow light account plan or higher, or your site needs a site plan to use custom code. I might have mentioned that in the beginning, but just wanted to mention that again. All right, so let me delete the space here. We don't need that in the code, that bottom space or that break, and then I'll click save, and then I will publish. So nothing's going to happen because we need the left arrow and the right arrow, but we can just see the slide autoplay, which I probably already showed. So the next piece is adding the left and the right arrow. So let's go into the slide, adding a click delay. So we're going to add the previous and next buttons, and then we're going to add a click delay to each of the buttons. So let me go into Webflow, and in the Swiper section, I'm going to add a div block. I'm going to call this left arrow, and I'm going to set the width to 75 pixels by 75. The position I'm going to set to absolute and bottom left. And let's see here, left arrow. So it's right over here. Yeah, this is the left arrow. And then I do have images already. So I have a left and right arrow that I can just drag and drop. So I'm going to drag and drop this left arrow right in here. And it's already in the assets panel, so it's not going to re-add it, but just wanted to show me dragging and dropping the image in there, or I could have just dragged and dropped from the assets panel as well. So for this image, I'm just going to call it arrow, and I'm going to set the width to 24 pixels. For the left arrow, I'm also going to set a position of flex, center, center, so that arrow is right in the center. And for the left arrow, I'm going to set the position 10% from the left, so it aligns with this text here on the left. And for the bottom, I'm going to say 25%, or maybe 45%. Nope, that's too much. How about 35? Yeah, 35 looks good. I'm also going to give it a radius of 50% and a background color of something like, oh, that's the font color. Let me undo that. The background color, I'm going to set it to like, a lighter gray, like 5252. That looks good. And perfect. So now we have our left arrow. So now what I want to do is go into the navigator, hit Command C, and then paste. So now we have two left arrows. So I'm going to select the second one. I'm going to duplicate the class, and I'm going to call this right arrow. And from the left, I'm going to set it to 15%. Right, so now we have these two arrows side by side, and then let me set this to like 17%, something like that. And I will replace this image here. So I have it here in my navigator with the right arrow, and now we have our left and right arrows. Perfect. Yeah, so we have our arrows all designed. That looks good. And now I want to add that click delay code. So when I click on each arrow, it changes the slide after, and then it adds a delay of 700 milliseconds. And these arrows will also trigger the Greensock animation of animating the clip path. All right, so yeah, let's go and get that code. That code is right here. So slider click delay, if I copy this, and right before the GSAP animation, I'll just copy this code, and I'll go into Webflow, go to the custom code, and I'll paste this right after the Swiper.js code. So I'll just paste that in there, and let's take a look at the code. So this code I found online. I was looking for a way to add a delay between each Swiper slide, and it wasn't the easiest thing. I'm gonna see if I can find it really quick. I'm just gonna go into Google and type it in, Swiper.js, add delay between slide, JavaScript, and I'll see if it shows up. And yep, so I found it here. I will put this in the link description area below. I did want to give credit to the person who wrote this. So it's here, it's this Stack Overflow, And I just got this this code from there and adjusted a few of the class names. So I'll quickly go over what this code does. It's just a bit of JavaScript. So basically, we're adding a swiper delay of 700 milliseconds, and we're targeting the left arrow. So that's the arrow we just created, and we also need to add a combo class of enabled to these arrows, which I'll do in a second. And basically, we're going to toggle off that enabled combo class. So when we click, it's going to say left arrow. It's going to remove the class enabled. It's going to set a timeout function of to the Swiper.js slider previous, which controls the previous and next slide function. And then left arrow, we're going to add the class enabled after 700 milliseconds, and this is the swiper delay, which is right up here. So this is just JavaScript saying on click, remove the class, wait 700 milliseconds, and then re-add the class. So it's just setting a timeout function so that the next slide triggers the add class, or the click triggers after 700 milliseconds. So it's adding a delay. We're not actually adding a delay between slides because Swiper.js doesn't have that function within their script. There's no parameters for that, but we're adding a timeout function to the click. So there's a click delay, which will wait 700 milliseconds before the click is registered to change the slide, which adds that effect of a delay of 700 milliseconds between each slide. So that's the code there. And then we're doing the same for the right arrow. So same exact code, but just for the right arrow class, we're removing and adding the enabled combo class after 700 milliseconds. So that's the code there, and that's all the code that we're using for this animation. So we have the CDN scripts, we're initiating the swiper slider. I'm going to go ahead and remove the autoplay because we don't need it anymore because we have the previous and next slides or buttons. Then we add the click delay with the swiper delay of 700 milliseconds. There's that 700 milliseconds again. So if you do change the timing, you want to change it in the GSAP animation, which is down here. You want to change this 0.7. So 0.7 is 700 milliseconds. You want to change the speed here, 700 milliseconds, and you want to change the swiper delay of 700 milliseconds. All right, so that's the code. We have initiated the Swiper.js slider. We have the click delay, and then we have the GSAP clip path animation using the timeline. And then we target the left and right arrow, and right up here you can see we're targeting the class right here, the left and right arrow. So that's why it's important. Let me just click save here. That's why it's important to give these specific classes of left dash arrow and right dash arrow. You could not add the dash, but I think Webflow automatically adds dashes when there's a space in the class. But I like doing it here. It just gives me a better reference of what the class is named. All right, so if we did everything correctly, everything should work right off the bat. So let me publish. We added all the custom code, and I'll preview, and we don't see the button. So one last thing, we need to give these left and right arrows a higher Z index so it appears above the clip path. So let me select the left arrow. Oh, and we didn't add the enabled combo class. So first let me select the left arrow, and actually let me see if I need to add a higher Z index. We might not have to. So left arrow, let me say enabled, add that combo class, and right arrow say enabled. Again, we're adding this combo class because that's what the script is adding and removing. So let me publish again, and we'll see if we need to add a higher Z index to the previous and next buttons. All right, so just waiting a second here, and I'll preview. And yeah, we do need to add a higher Z index. I'm not sure why that is. I think it's just has to do with the clip path maybe being in front of everything, and maybe because this is set to a position of absolute. I think that's it. The arrows are positioned to absolute, so they don't get a Z index applied initially. If we were to set it to relative, we wouldn't have to add a higher Z index. But I'll go ahead and do that. And I actually want to add it to not the left arrow enabled combo class, because that combo class gets added and removed. I want to add it to the left arrow, so the initial class. I want to select it here in the selector, and I'll do something like 999 just to set it really high, make sure it's in front. You probably don't need to go as high as 999, but I'm just used to like giving elements that I want in front a high Z index. So here we'll select the right arrow. So I selected the right arrow here, and we'll do 999 as well, and that's it. So giving elements a higher Z index brings it further in front in the website. Giving it a lower Z index will place elements behind. Okay, so I'll publish, and I think we will have a fully functional clip path slider. So there's our previous and next buttons. I click, it animates, and perfect. And awesome. So that's basically it. We went through all the steps. There's just so much you can do with this clip path animation, or this technique, or however you want to use it. You can change the speed. Oh, we still have one more part actually left. But yeah, you can change the speed. You can go to Clippy, change the clip path to any shape you want, and then you can use Greensock to create even more complex animations. Like I could have an animation that goes from like a rhombus or something, like it goes in like this, and then it expands out like this, just something wild, to create like a really cool animation and have all the different points animate at different times. So that's really fun there. All right, so the last part is adding the sliding text interaction. So finally, we will add the sliding text animation via interactions in Webflow. So this next part is actually much easier than one might anticipate or think in a way. It's just creating an interaction in Webflow. So we want to add the interaction to the left and right arrows. So I'll click the left arrow, go to interactions, click the plus. I'll say on mouse click or tap, we're going to start an animation. And let me delete this because I created that initially. I'll click the plus and I'll say text slide. So basically what we want to do with this text, both of these text, we want to move it. When we click, we want to move the text up, then bring it down right away with no duration, and then bring it back to the middle. So as each slide comes in, it goes up, resets to the bottom, and then goes to the middle. So what we're going to do, we're going to select this top heading, we're going to say move, and we're going to move it on the y-axis -100%. So it moves up, and because we added an overflow hidden to the top text wrapper, we don't see the text out of the wrapper, so it's like a mask. The overflow hidden top text wrapper serves as like a mask where we don't see the text outside of it. Then we'll select this author text, and we'll move it as well, -100%. And I'll start these together. A duration of 0.5 is okay. And we'll do an easing of ease in out for both the top heading and the author text. So ease in out for these, and it just moves out to the top so we don't see it. And the next thing we want to do is reset them so they go up and then immediately back to the bottom. So I'm just going to select both of these, right click, select duplicate, and then for the y-axis, I'm going to bring it all the way down to 100%, which moves them down. And for the duration, I'm going to set 0, so it resets it right away. And then I'll say linear for the easing, because we don't need any easing for an animation that has a duration of 0. And I think adding an easing wouldn't change anything, but just for my peace of mind, I like to set the easing to none, because I don't want any easing or any timing to this animation. I just want it to go up and reset down right away. All right, and then we're going to bring it back to the 0 position so it's viewable. And notice I'm affecting each class. So here we're affecting the class of each top heading because each slide has the same classes in them. So as we go through each slide, the animation will reset, and we'll see that the headings move up and reset and then move back to the middle. All right, so the last thing we need to do is bring the text back to center so it's viewable. So I'll just let me duplicate these top two. I'll right click, set duplicate. I'll bring it below the reset here, so we can call this section like the reset. And then I'll bring back the text back to 0% so it's viewable. A duration of 0.5 is okay. And here I want to add a delay of 0.7. So here's the 700 milliseconds again, because there's a delay of 700 milliseconds between each slide. So I want to wait till the slide transitions, and then we want to see the text animate. So we add a delay of 0.7 to both of these texts. A duration of 0.5 is okay. and an easing of ease and out because we copied it from the top here. All right, and I'm just gonna add a second delay to this author text. I'm gonna add a delay of 0.9. So there's just a little bit of variation between the text, the author text or the top text heading and the author text coming in, and it just creates like this alternate animation between them. And that's just a design choice. You can kind of customize the timing differently for your slider. So I'll click save. Again, we're targeting all the classes with all the elements with these classes, so it'll happen on every single slide. So now I'll click save, and that's it. So on second click, we want the same thing to happen. So we'll just say on second click, repeat this animation. And then for the right arrow, we just want to apply this interaction as well. So we'll start an animation, select text slide. On second click, text slide. All right, so kind of moved quickly through that, but we just applied it to the first click and second click for both the right arrow and the left arrow. So we have this interaction, and the interaction is right up here with this lightning bolt symbol. You can add the interactions through there. All right, and that's it. So now I'll publish, and we should have a fully functional slider with text moving, with the clip path, and with the slide moving vertically. So I'll preview. We'll click. Oh, one last thing. So yeah, we can see the text is working beautifully. That is awesome. One last thing, and this is very important actually, because we want to let the user know that these are clickable, and usually users know something is clickable by the pointer icon. So we want to go to the left arrow, go to the styles panel, go down to pointer. Here where it says cursor, we want to change this to pointer. So I think I reversed my words there, but select the left arrow, go to cursor, and again, let me undo this. Make sure when you're making any changes to the left and right arrow that you're not setting it to the enabled class. You want to set it to the main class, which is left arrow. And then we want to set it to a pointer, so it turns into like a clickable pointer there. And then right arrow, under selectors, select the right arrow, not the combo class, go to cursor and set it to a pointer. All right, so again, users associate a pointer with something that's clickable, so we want to change it to that pointer icon when we're over those left and right arrows. So now when I hover, the icon is a pointer. I click, and the text changes, and beautiful. All right, so the last thing we need to do is change the text for each slide because we have different quotes for each slide. So the way to do this, there's a particular method that I'm using here, or a particular method to use this. And I'll explain why I'm doing this in a second. But basically, we want to select, let me see how I did this before. Yeah, so we want to hide all the slides. So I'll hide the slides. I'll set them to display none. And then for the fourth slide, I'll add a combo class of 4 and set it to a display of flex so I can see it. And I'll go through why I'm doing this in a second. Yeah, so, and then we want to remove it. If we add a combo class to the Swiper slide, for some reason, Swiper.js adds a second slide. So after we're done going through and changing all the text for each slide, we want to remove the combo classes. So this is temporary. I'm just adding combo classes temporarily so we can see each slide individually, because right now they're kind of stacked on top of each other, which makes it difficult to access them. So right now I'm looking at the fourth slide. Let me change the text here. So I'll just find another quote. So let me look that up again. Okay, let's look up short inspirational quotes. And we'll just grab some quotes and let's look at another one. Yeah, this one's cool. Believe you can and you're halfway there. This is Theodore Roosevelt, so I'll just paste that in there. And we'll change the author. Theodore Roosevelt. All right, cool. And if you don't want the text to be this wide, you can just add a width to the top heading of like 24ch, and this will just shorten the text so it's not so wide for the viewer to read. And it also goes with that clip path. It's more to the left, so the text will be even more viewable. Okay, so let's go to the navigator. Now we can add, we can actually remove this combo class. So I'll remove the class, and then for Swiper, this next class, I can just add a 1 here actually instead of a 4, and then just set it to flex, and now it's viewable. And I can go to another quote. Wherever you go, go with all your heart. This is Confucius. So Confucius says, I remember learning about that in, I think, elementary or middle school, about Confucius. So Confucius for the author, that looks good. Again, we'll go into this third slide. We'll remove this combo class. Then we'll go to this second slide, and I'll add the combo class of 1, so it's viewable. And then we'll add another, I like this one. You are enough just as you are. Perfect. And this one is by Meghan Markle. Cool. And let me change this to maybe 28ch, something like that. Okay, cool. And then we'll go into the navigator again, and I will remove this combo class. And then for the Swiper slide, let's set it back to flex, so all the slides are visible. So again, I was just adding a combo class. So initially I had all the slides not visible, and by adding a combo class, I was able to apply specific setting just to the slide, and then I made each slide visible. So by setting, the slide to a combo class of 1, which has the property of flex, the slide becomes visible. If I remove it, the slide becomes not hidden again or not visible, because we're just using the Swiper slide class. But I want all the classes to be visible now, so I'll set it to flex, and now all the slides are visible and they're stacked on top of each other with a position of absolute. All right, so now I'll publish, and that should be it. So let's preview, and Make Each Day Your Masterpiece by John Wooden. Next slide. Animation, You Are Enough Just As You Are, Meghan Markle. And you'll want to play with the contrast of some of these text and images to make sure it's readable. Next slide is Wherever You Go, Go With All Your Heart by Confucius. And the next one is Believe You Can and You're Halfway There. Cool. Or you could say Believe You Can and You're There. You just have to practice or something like that. So I don't know if I believe all these quotes, but they sound good. But some I really like. I like Confucius and all of them. And yeah, it could be true. You want to believe in what you're doing. So cool. All right. And yeah, so that is the slider. I don't think there's anything else I want to actually, there is one thing. You can customize the color of this clip path very easily. So rather than, this darker color of 181818, you can go to the Swiper and just change the background color. You could even add another image to the Swiper, and you would have like a clipped image. So we might do that just to see what it looks like. So let me just change the color here, something to like maybe a bluish tan color, something like that, and publish. And so yeah, you can easily change the color of the clip path just by adding a color. I think you can even make it a gradient. So there we can see we've changed the color. It looks good. Let me try setting it to a gradient. This could be pretty fun. So let me add a gradient right in here. And let's make this color like like a blue. My dog always loves to bark right at the end of my videos. We'll set a darker blue here to white. Let's try that. And let me publish and see how that looks. I think it's going to override the background color. I don't think I need to reset the background color. But let me preview. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty cool. Kind of digging that. Yeah, you can add a gradient and it'll work beautifully. So the other thing I like about clip path, I was trying this animation initially with a Lottie animation, and it wasn't working that good in Safari, and it was also a bit more complicated. But what I love about clip path is that I'm here in Safari and it works just as well in Safari. Adding masks in Lottie and animating something with masks, doesn't work that well in Safari. It actually looks very choppy and jittery when using masks and Lottie and After Effects and adding it to Webflow. So using clip path is definitely an awesome workaround, which allows us to have smooth transitions between different browsers. So just to kind of make sure, let's just look at clip path on caniuse.com, and it's supported by a lot of browsers, most major browsers except IE. And it says partial support because here it says partial support refers to supporting shapes and the URL hashtag foo syntax for inline SVG, but not shapes in external SVGs. So we're not using SVG, so I do think it's mostly supported in browsers. We're just using the clip path in the CSS property. So you can double check, definitely do testing on different browsers, but right now I tested in Safari and Chrome and it looks really good. But you can test in other browsers as well. But that's caniuse.com. It lets you know what's available in the different browsers. All right, the last thing I want to test is adding an image just for fun to the clip path. Let me add an image, choose an image, and let me just choose this one image that we haven't worked with, and I'll set it to cover, position center, and not tiled. So let's see. And if this works, I mean, you could, and it's definitely going to work because I don't see why it wouldn't. But look at that. You can definitely, like, wow. You could get super creative with this animation. I hadn't even thought about that, but I'm loving this because it just looks really cool. Obviously, you'd want an image that has more contrast with the text depending on your text color. But let me see if I have a darker image in my assets panel. I do not, but I know this video is getting kind of long, but I'm just super excited at what can be done here. So let me just say darker image, dark background. And let's see what Unsplash comes up with. Let me just try dark background. Ooh, let me think of, ooh, let's just do universe. Oh, that's cool. I'm just having fun with this now. All right, let's do this one, the Milky Way. Oh, there's so many good ones, but oh man. How about this one? Wait, no, that's portrait. Portrait doesn't always look great. Yeah, there's so many cool ones here. Oh man, you could have a field day with this. All right, we'll use it looks like the Milky Way galaxy there. So let me just go to my downloads, and I'm gonna resize it. Right now it's 2.7 megabytes. So we have the image here, and I'll go to tools, adjust size. Let's make it 1920, and let me look at the size after that. 723 kilobytes, still a bit large. You might want to go to like compress JPEG, or yeah, this compress PNG, compress JPEG to make sure your images aren't too large. I like to keep my images around 300 kilobytes, but for now I'll just skip that process and we'll add the 700 kilobyte version. But yeah, definitely a good practice to compress your images to make sure they're not too big. 723 might be too big. So let's go back into the swiper. The swiper right up here, and I'll just replace that image with this image, and I'll remove this gradient because I don't know if you noticed we saw the gradient initially, and I'm gonna add like that dark background color in case the image doesn't load super quick. We'll just see a darker background. Preview. Okay, so there we have the image, and okay, that's a little bit tacky, I'm not gonna lie. Having the galaxy back there, that's a little bit tacky. Not really feeling that. I think I liked having just another image. Yeah, this has a darker background, so we're just gonna try this. Okay, the video is getting kind of long. I'm just having fun with it right now. But you get the drift here. You can just do a lot of amazing things. And look at that! Wow. So because I picked the same, that was cool. Because I picked the same image for the background of Swiper, when we get to this image, it just like sinks in, like melts into the image as something else. All right, I'm gonna end it there because I'm having way too much fun with this, and I don't want the video to be too long. So let's just go through it one more time. Oh, that's awesome. One. Oh, I love that. That's so cool. And then the last one here. Boom. All right, that's awesome. Yeah, and again, I'm going to reiterate, have some contrast with your text so that users can actually read the text here. Okay, so yeah, I think that's it. Let me go to the presentation here. Yeah, we covered everything, and I'll reiterate what we did. Let me clean up some of the tabs here. Obviously, you want to keep your browser nice and clean, and I'll just reiterate what we did. So we added the Swiper.js vertical slider. So I'll leave a link to the Swiper.js site here. And next we added the clip path to each slide. So we created a clip path using the Bennett Feely Clippy code here, and then we just copied this code and targeted each slide. Then we animated the clip path with Greensock. So we just grabbed the Greensock code, and we created a timeline, and we animated the clip path within the timeline, and we targeted the left and right arrow. We added a click delay to each slide, again using, let me see if I can find that code now. We used the Stack Overflow code to add that swiper delay, and we targeted the left and right arrow, and we added a combo class of enabled to the left and right arrow because that's the class we toggle on and off. So that was done, and then we added the sliding text interaction using interactions in Webflow. All right, so yeah, that was about an hour video. I can't believe it went that long, but super fun animation. I'm gonna have a lot more fun using the clip path property, animating clip paths. You can do things like hover, changing the clip path on hover. So one thing I didn't mention, and hopefully I mentioned this in the beginning, but this was inspired by this CodeDrops demo. If you haven't checked out codedrops.com, definitely do that. Hopefully I mentioned this in the beginning, but CodeDrops is just a super amazing website. Mary Lou, she does a lot of different animations, so she created this, and yeah, it's very similar. So like I saw this and I thought to myself, how can I recreate this in Webflow? And I initially thought to do this with Lottie animation and masks in After Effects, but then when I found out that it doesn't really work with Safari, and also the proportions didn't look great using a Lottie animation. So when I found clip path, I was like, oh, it was like a godsend. It was like, oh, this is amazing. And it just became really easy after that to like animate it. I also looked on YouTube for a few other videos that showed how to do it, and slowly but surely, it took a couple days, but I figured everything out, and I'm happy to be sharing this information with you. So this was inspired by this CodeDrops demo by Mary Lou. She did an amazing job, and she just, this inspired me to try to do it in Webflow, and I was able to do it with the code that I showcased in this tutorial. So we can see it's fairly similar. Yeah, and you can animate the timing, the different things like that. So yeah, this one's a little more bizarre because I added a background image and in the slider and things like that. So yeah, definitely inspired by this. Definitely check out codedrops.com. Amazing website. Definitely a lot of cool things. And I want to showcase even more things that's built here and kind of how to implement it in Webflow, because obviously we want to use less code as we can with Webflow, and Webflow makes it easy to just do things without code. And yeah, even though we're using code, but we're building the elements in Webflow and then targeting elements with code. Awesome. So yeah, so again, I'll leave a link to this Google Doc with all the code that I used. There will be a clonable link, a clonable project, or this project will be clonable, for free in the description area below, so you can clone it into your dashboard. Again, you need a light account plan or higher, or site plan to your project to use custom code, but you can view the custom code and use the Google Doc and copy and paste into your project and view the code and view how I added the code into Webflow. All right, awesome. So that is it for this video. I don't want it to go too much longer. But again, this was a really fun build, really enjoyed it. I'll leave a link to everything that I used in the description area below. There's a few other links down there as well. You can, leave me a coffee or buy me a coffee if you like my videos. Definitely helps support the YouTube channel, and it's much appreciated. I do enjoy making these videos. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention with this very interesting image in the background is I do live streams every Monday through Thursday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time. So if you need help with your website, or actually, let me start over. Yeah, from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Central Time, where I cover everything Webflow, how to build websites in Webflow. We cover layout. I build websites from scratch. Right now we're covering typography, like advanced typography, like rems, ems, units, VW units, and responsive typography. So if you're interested in that, definitely check out the live stream. And I also cover animations and interactions. And if you need help with your Webflow site, with your personal site or a client site, I do offer support as well via a super chat. So yeah, definitely wanted to go over that. And you can check out webdevforyou.com, where I offer templates, interactions. I have over 150 interactions. This is 153 that I'll be posting soon in my profile here. So you can check out, there's over 150 here now, 152 at the moment, and this is 153. Interactions, tutorials on my YouTube channel, resources. You can link out to Webflow. I am an affiliate with Webflow, so clicking on this link definitely helps me out if you decide to purchase an account plan or a site plan with Webflow. Envato Elements if you're looking for a design element. Learn UI design course if you're looking to level up your design game with web design. Highly recommend it. I find many users like the idea of building a website easily with no code, but design is a very important aspect to web development that I highly recommend kind of going over. So check that out. It goes over everything: color, typography, alignment, all that good stuff. And then again, my YouTube channel where I offer Webflow tutorials. All right, and my super chat, you can check it out here. I have to set up my next super chat here. But you can check out my live streams. I have to fix this first one because it's bigger than the other, like the height. But all my previous streams are right here, and you can check them out here. And I give a little description of what I went over in each stream right below the video. All right, and you can click next to see even more videos. All right, cool. So that is it for this video. Thanks everyone for watching. I know I went kind of long, but I just had a lot of fun with this build. Everything that I went over, all the links necessary for this build are in the description area below. Have a great rest of your evening. Check out my live streams if you want to see more of me, if you like how I do videos or how I present. Definitely check out my live streams. And, you can leave a chat. We can discuss in chat and all that good stuff. There's definitely a pop-in discussion sometimes in the live stream. And I think as it builds more momentum, we'll have even more cool discussions about Webflow and keep learning Webflow and continue to become proficient in Webflow and web design and development in general. All right, now I'm going on too long. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great rest of the evening, and I'll see you in the next video tutorial. Thank you.